it's like being a dog in a pack of wolves. You know, you are amongst thieves essentially, right? So it's like who are you? You think you got your things together, or like, or and even a positive way. Oh, you know he got it. I can get it from him. That type of thing. So any goal I had, trying to get myself, hey, let me get a car. I'm 16 now. Let me try to get this, or let me get this. Let me try to save up. It was always taken away, and it's just to keep me where I am at, so that there's a satisfaction of like, hey, sameness. You are what I'm at. You're no better than me. You can't be better than me.
Welcome to Breaking Stereotypes with Todd and Tootsie. Today we're joined by Dominic Walker, who is the only member of his family to have escaped poverty and trouble with the law. Dominic's brother, ex Cartier, was a previous guest on our show and was here discussing his life as a drug dealer. And so today, Dominic is here to offer a different life path coming from the same upbringing. But before we get started, I'd just like to ask our viewers to like this video and subscribe to our channel, as it will help the YouTube algorithm and help our new channel to grow.
Welcome, Dominic.
Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for coming. So, what do you think the stereotypes are of Black Americans living below the poverty line?
Well, I think the stereotypes that I've been accustomed to hearing as well is that it's tied into not being educated, having, being promiscuous, not having a full lease on life. And I think most of it is portrayed through the media and things of that nature. And also people who have not been accustomed to that lifestyle. So it's easy to look outside of a community and say, hey, these are these people and this is what it is, where it's more of a social economic issue that is causing so much of those problems and continuing on as of today.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you or members of your family have ever fit that stereotype?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, so, coming from a background of parents and family members who haven't excelled in educational backgrounds and double into things that are not legally acceptable, it has exposed me to those type of things and that kind of lifestyle. But yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about it.
So your brother was on the show, ex Cartier, and he talked about your upbringing. Mm-hmm. And so for our viewers who haven't seen that interview yet, would you please just kind of go into a little bit about what your upbringing was like growing up?
So growing up, I did come from a background of a mother and a father who, speaking of my mother, she had a lot of things that she had to go through herself in her life, and also having 6 children. It hasn't been the easiest on her, and we haven't also been the easiest for her. So it has made a lot of a troubled upbringing, where it came to having arguments, altercations, and having outside forces come in to just provide some kind of positive look. My father, he was dealing at the time as an addict on things, and he was physically present at times, but he didn't know how to be a father himself. So that's what I can say about those troubled backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. You were exposed to a lot of drugs, right, in your childhood? Like actually just witnessing it?
Well,
or the drug trade, I should say.
So I've seen times of that, and I've seen drug use and things of that. That's what I've experienced. Mm-hmm. But I never had the urge to get into that or to use it. Basically, based on their lifestyle, it taught me not to live that lifestyle.
Even from a very young age, you kind of saw that and you were like, I don't want any part of it.
I'm the square from Delaware.
That's right.
Okay. So when I came into your life as a mentor for you and your brother, when you guys were young teenagers, your father wasn't present at all. It was just your mom, and she was caring for 6 children and trying to work with having lupus, and you and your brother ended up not being in school as much as you needed to because she was working and you guys were taking care of the younger kids, watching over the household. And so, can you tell us a little bit about, kind of what that experience was like for you?
Well, it was not easy. At that time, I was doing a lot of things, like again, leaving school, as mentioned, having a lot of truancy. I can remember back in 6th grade alone, and the first 3 months of school, they said I missed 60 days. So 2/3 of it, I'm not there. And it was a litany of things. School wasn't growing up in the inner city. You can be typecast, you can be bullied and things based on just being who you are, what you wear, how you look. And I was a victim of that. So it wasn't the safest place for me to be at school. And also, our school district didn't have a lot of funding. So, you can have 40 people in a class, students, and there's only 20 textbooks. And some of them are outdated. And, so what I would do is I would skip school. Originally, I skipped school as a way to learn. So I would take Xavier with me to go to the library, and we'll just go learn something, and then I would just go and do the tests. But then I started abusing it, and I started finding other ways. Like, I don't want to wake up today. Let me go play some video games. Let me just be irresponsible. No one's going to really know. And then that caught up on us heavy. And spent a lot of time in and out of group homes and things of that nature. But that was just part of that. But again, the lifestyle at the home, been very raucous. Like, little things can be reprimanded very harshly. Like, if you didn't wash the dishes, then you will be gone for 3 months in a facility, and things like that. But yeah, it was very hard growing up on that because you felt like you weren't wanted at times, or you were burdened. And it's very hard for a child to live a life thinking that, and being constantly reminded that you are messing up, you're terrible, you're this and that. So it messes up your self-esteem, let alone all the outside forces and all of the things outside of home that keep reminding you that you're not good enough. So wasn't easy growing up.
Yeah. And given all that you just said, and then adding in the lack of supervision and the amount of time missing school, it's easy to see how you could have really veered in the wrong direction. And that, in fact, happened to all of your siblings. So what set you apart that never happened to you? You never got into any trouble?
Well, I when I was younger, I used to try to find examples. Even if I didn't have someone in my life as a positive role model, I tried to find it other ways, like watching TV, reading books, things of that nature. And I just wanted to be a model of that person because I know, hey, if I don't want to go to jail, I don't want to get in trouble, so let me try to be Steve Urkel or a Power Ranger in my head or something, just something that I could aspire to be and that people can look up to. And that's what made me steer that path. And then as I got older and start in my adolescent years, I started looking at realistic fictional people like MLK or, Todd, or just people of that nature, so that I can, see real life examples and things of that nature.
So did you kind of look to those examples as something because of the fact that you experienced kind of what life would be like if you went down the other path of people in your family or in your neighborhood?
No, it's more of just constantly reminding myself that this is not staring toward that life, but just reminding yourself that, hey, you may not have a place to stay, or you might or you might be getting kicked out, but you just know you're 15. You got 3 more years. You can be that person you want to be if you just keep. It's just hope. Just hope. Just to continue going through whatever I'm going through, and then once I'm an adult, I can get out of there. That kind of thing. It was just trying to get to being an adult so I can have my own place, and then I can follow through my paths and allow people in my life that I feel is good for me, and set boundaries for those that need that to get my respect. That type of thing.
So let's sort of talk about the life paths of your siblings, because again, the total diversion from the way you went. And I guess we could start with X because we're the most familiar with him. And he was someone that ended up dealing drugs and ended up in prison. So I guess what was it like for you to see someone? He's only a year apart from you. You're very close, obviously. What was it like to see that happen, where probably the closest person in your life, you watched him kind of going down that path?
Oh, it was hard. It was because it's like, I constantly would tell him, like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, to where sometimes it would be emotionally draining and physically draining at times. Just like, can you just do things right? Because, as humans, we think, like, ideally, like, we believe that the world should be based on how we view ourselves, and what we have. Ideally, the world should be a model of. And I had to learn that even though he's a year younger than me, he's an adult, and he's going to make his decisions no matter what I say or what I do. So when it happened, I was upset and I was mad, because obviously that's 3 years removed, and it's a lot we can do. But then I also have to understand I did everything I can to try to steer all of that. So it wasn't easy, though.
Mm-hmm. So just going back a little bit, so when I worked with you guys were both kind of really a pain in the ass, and so it's something that at the time, like, if I had to kind of predict, how you guys would go, I wouldn't have predicted the outcome. Do you know what I mean? I honestly would have thought both you guys would have ended up in jail. And just because, it was one of those things where you were both very kind of defiant and oppositional, and, so on and so forth. There wasn't any significant difference, yet you guys really did go on different paths. Talk to me about that. Like, what was, like, you remember that time, right?
Right. So I'll say this. I believe, just speaking on Xavier and myself, is that we have that anti-authority ideal, and that comes from our mother. Our mother does not take anything. She will find a way to get it even if you're like the president of the United States. She's going to find a way to bring you down. Like, have you ever watched the show How to Get Away with Murder? All right, no. So it's Viola Davis, the actress. She plays a character where she finds mental gymnastics to find a way to solve anything. So she's like that. She's very headstrong and very opinionated. So that's something we got instilled in us from her. But the difference between me and Xavier is an extrovert, and I'm an introvert. Mm-hmm. Like, remember when we first started, I remember, you think you remember this, when we first started talking to each other in our therapy sessions, it took like a month or two for you to even get a word from me. Mm-hmm. I would sit there and just be stationary, wouldn't say anything. And then we got to learn each other. So Xavier and my other siblings are just like that. They're people persons. So they like to be the life of the party. They like to be the center of attention. So sometimes they might be influenced to do things to uphold that status. Whereas I don't care. I'm a square cornball guy. They'll call me something like that. And sometimes it might hurt your ego, but it doesn't really, because it's who I am. And I think that's the reason why, is that even though if I go against the grain, I will also go against the grain of things that will be detrimental to me. So I want to make sure I keep my moral compass to close to my ideals. So that's different.
So at a certain point in time, you determined that you didn't want to go down that life, and through hell or high water, you were going to avoid it.
The day before I was born, I thought,
Okay.
You and X both have the same quick wit.
yes.
Yes.
So let's talk about your other siblings, and can you kind of run down who they are and kind of what their path was?
So my oldest immediate sibling is Paris. So she's again just like Xavier. She's a people person. She is a rowdy one. She is a rowdy one. She goes 0 to 100, but she's can hate hard, but she loves hard at the same time. Like she'll give you all of her, no matter if it's a good or a bad, and she means well. But she has left school at a very early age, and she had children at an early age, which is kind of sad to say that we already predicted that at a very young age how our outcome has.
How many children does she have?
Four. But she's a good mother. She takes care of them. She does live at times. There's some times in her life that she does regret not taking a different path or going a different direction. And sometimes it can be hard on her. Sometimes getting a call from her and she's crying and things of that nature about things that happen in her life that mental health issues and things of that nature. But she's okay. You know what I'm saying? She's okay. For the life that she chose compared to others, she's doing really well.
Would you still say that she's in poverty, though?
Yes. She's definitely in poverty. And I'll go to the next one. Taishan, he's my youngest brother. He lives in poverty, but he did graduate from high school. He's very, just like Paris, he can be explosive, but he can love unconditionally. His struggles with his emotions, how to keep them in check sometimes, where it can be aggressive or physical. China, they're all the same. Pretty much personality-wise, it's all the same. It's just a trait of having, being your mother's child. We all grew up not being in a home with a father, so we have those kind of connections emotionally.
Well, when you're talking about Paris, for example, it was almost kind of like you were talking about a young version of your mom.
Yeah, it is. It's like night. It's pretty much you would think if you didn't, like, let's say for example, you couldn't hear their voice, you couldn't see a physical body, but you can get something of both of them, you would think it's the same person. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's pretty like thoughts or ideals. That's pretty 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So is China also in poverty?
Yes. Okay. But she's China, I would say, and for also Taishan, is that they also have the ideal of being more than what they are. Even though the circumstance they're in, China will always call me like, hey, I found a new job. I'm planning on doing this. I'm planning on doing on that. Taishan would do the same. So it's like great to hear what their intentions are and what their goals are. And it's great to see them accomplish them, even though it may be faster than I would hope or what normally what someone else would take. But as long as they're striving, that's what's great.
They're trying to live a straight life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also lost your brother. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Brandon is a different one. So Brandon has those same personality traits, but Brandon had a tendency of using your kindness and taking away from that. Like, for example, I would give Brandon different employment opportunities. And, like, for example, there was one time we went to a restaurant. He worked there, and I was training him. He was stealing the first day he worked there. And it's like, I vouch for you to get this job. Now you're putting my reputation on the line based on this action, and like for things that are like, you're gonna get a check and you're stealing like crackers. It's like, that's weird. Like, why would you do that? You get a free meal here. The hardest thing, and Xavier can say the same thing. The hardest thing is like Brandon he was the first one to live outside of our home at a very early age. Like he was 15 years old with someone who was like 18 years old dating, and he's living with them. And he will come over every like few months. He's like, "Man, I'm great to see you." And I'm like, "I hope you don't steal this thing I bought." And you already know, like, okay, great, it's gone. And then you gotta see him again, and he does the same thing again, and he knows, like, I don't have a whole bunch of money. I'm like 16, or 14. And he knows I don't have that, and he steals it. Going back a couple years, this is the defining moment that I know Brandon disobeys the trust that I gave to him. So I was 11 years old, and I was given an opportunity to work at with one of my mother's family friends to make a living, get a couple bucks just cleaning. So every Friday, he will give me $7 to clean. He worked at a clinic at the time, so I will get the money, and I was saving the money up because I had I wanted to get at the time it was a Nintendo 64 when it was popular at the time. So I got to my 6th week, so I was like I believe, oh no, 5th week, so $35. I had saved up. I was like, great, I need about another 20 more weeks, I guess, and I'll have that and the set of games I want. And he went in my stash, stole all of the money, everything. Wow. So can you imagine saving up all those weeks and all of it's gone? It's like, why? Like, I can understand if you're gonna steal something. I can't understand stealing, but like if you steal some, not all, like that's beyond. Like, I had to work for this, but it's been historic. It's just a lot. But
so when he passed, it must have. What was that experience like? As far as, you had these negative experiences with him, but he was still your brother, and then he lost his life in a car accident, and when he was in his 20s, correct?
Yeah, right. He's 29. I mean, at the end of the day, it's possessions. It's not. I can always make money. I can always buy a new thing. So, I just, when I can remember the morning it happened. I was, vehemently sad, but I was also at peace because I know, at those times he was at that time in his life. Even though he's the oldest, he never had his ducks in a row. He always would take something, steal something, living somewhere he doesn't have to live at because he disobeyed a lot of trust from everyone. But the day he died is like, it's just a plethora of emotions that day. But it was almost, he's sad and it's just sadness, I guess. It was just sadness.
Sure. Well, there's probably multi-layered too, because it's one of those things where when you just said he never had his ducks in a row, he would never have an opportunity to do that then either, to get to the point where he was able to understand and, be the kind of guy that he could have been.
Right.
And that's tragic.
But the sad thing is that I don't personally think he would ever have gotten
It was just
there.
too ingrained in him at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the final weeks that I was communicating with him, he was stealing copper out of basements, and saying, thinking that was normal. It's like, don't drug addicts do that, or things like that. Like, people who sell copper, I believe, to get their fix. And he was with a woman at that time who was in her 20s. Like, she was 20, 21 years old, so she was younger than him, and she had a child and had a car full of garbage and things of that nature. I'm not judging the woman off of that, but she's younger than you. She don't have her things together. You don't have your things together. What is the end result here? Like, and then if this don't work out, this is like your fifth relationship in like 4 years. Who are you gonna go to next? And how's that person gonna be? Are they gonna be even worse than them? What is the end result? And it was never a point where I can say, man, you got your things together. You're doing great. It was never that. He was an absorber. That's what he was. He would absorb everything he could, extract everything he can from you, just to get. It was just bad. It was just bad.
Now correct my memory, because there was 6 of you, but it was kind of, wasn't it? Paris and Brandon, they had a father that was different than your father, and you and Xavier had the same father, and then Tyshawn and China had different fathers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, Paris, Brandon, me, and Xavier have the same father.
Oh,
China
okay.
and Tyshawn have a different father.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So your story of Brandon sounds kind of similar to what I know of your mother. You have a similar story of kind of stealing from you, right?
Yes.
So could you share that experience with us?
I mean, I got a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories. It's the same thing. It's just that I guess that's a detriment of me having a different personality trait than them. Because again, it's like being, a dog in a pack of wolves. You are amongst thieves essentially, right? So it's like who are you? You think you got your things together, or and even a positive way. Oh, he got it. I can get it from him. That type of thing. So any goal I had, trying to get myself, hey, let me get a car. I'm 16 now. Let me try to get this, or let me get this. Let me try to save up. It was always taken away, and it's just to keep me where I am at, so that there's a satisfaction of like, hey, sameness. You are what I'm at. You're no better than me. You can't be better than me. So it was just a constant battle of that all the way till I was like 22 years old. But again, like my mother, as mentioned, there's been times where she's taken money physically, stole money in my name from unemployment insurance while I'm working at a job, and lying to my face the whole time for 3 years, asking me for money, kicking me out even though I'm paying to stay there. I couldn't get a key. It was a lot of emotional control to make me feel less than. And I accepted it because she's my mother, So, and I'd had no other examples until after leaving that house that this is not the way someone's supposed to be treating you, especially a mother or a parent.
Sure.
But yeah, it was hard. That was hard.
So she took out unemployment insurance in your name while you had been working.
Right.
And you found out when basically, did the cops show up?
I had a state trooper come to my school and brought me to their precinct, put me in handcuffs on a bench, and then put me into an interrogation room and just started throwing receipts at me and asking me, what is this? What is this? When did you buy this? And like grilling me for things that I had no idea. And then I start seeing the transactions and saying, hey, this is a place that she frequently shops at. These are things that she frequently buys. And then I just told them everything that would happen. And they let me go and told me that I had a court date and then I had to be there. So I went home and I asked her about this. And then she said, well, you left your Social Security around. That's what happened. It's like, well, my Social Security, my address, they know my phone number. How would they know what I worked at? How did they get all that from this? And which is funny because even at that age, at 20, 21 years old, she wouldn't let me have my Social Security number or any of that. So everything was in her possession. And I went to the court date and I told them as well what happened, and they felt sorry for me and gave me a discount to pay, which was nice of them to do. But it still was a slight to take responsibility of something that I had no control of, but I was able to get past that.
How much were you supposed to pay back?
Originally, it was $23,000, I believe it was, but then it was able to negotiate it down to $11,000. So I had to pay. It took me 4 years to pay off $11,000.
So of debt that you didn't incur, that your mother incurred in your name.
Correct.
Did she ever express any remorse around that?
No, but so we are not really well at expressing emotions or well, not emotions, but our feelings on things. So which she hasn't done for this, but I'll give an example. So let's say if something happened and it was at her fault, she will apologize by saying, "You want something from the store? Oh, let me take you to the mall." That's her way of doing it. I guess her apology was like, "It's not that much." I guess that's the apology I got, but that was all I got.
Wow.
So that was obviously that's a lot of money that you had to pay back, even though ironically you were like the one that never got into trouble. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, your brother was on the show and telling a story of how someone owed him money that was his, and he was so upset about it that he broke into the person's house to steal the money back. That's how he ended up in prison. So my question to you is, were you ever tempted or thinking about like, hey, this is bullshit, that I don't owe this money, so, I got to find a way to get some quick cash and pay it back?
Nope. I was like, how can I add another job and apply for that immediately to get that? That was my notion. I had worked one time paying it off. I worked 3 jobs and worked 7 days a week and only made like $300. Like that's like, at that time I didn't finish school yet, so I had to use that as like, which is, I guess, in a weird way, that gave me motivation to complete what I had to do in order to get to where I'm at now, because I can't pay this off with $7 an hour. It's going to take forever, even having 3 jobs. I don't have a good work-life balance. I'm in my 20s. I can't hang out with anybody. I can't do anything if I got to work every day. So it made me feel like, okay, how can I get this done with 1 job? So, all right, let me finish school. Let me apply for these places. That's what I did. But what was it? So let me clarify some things. So I got that notice when I was 19. I graduated at 19. I got my GED at 19, 20, one of those ages. And then I started paying it off at around 21 when I got a job that was able to give me the financing I need, or the money, the monetary gains to pay it off.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that? I know you had contacted me during one of those times, but I thought there was another time where your mom had taken out a credit card or something.
Yep.
In your name, as well.
Yes. So when I was 18, she gave the idea of, hey, let's go. You should get a credit card as well, because I just got a job. I was working at a restaurant called Don Pablo's at the time, and I had just opened up a bank account so I can get direct deposit set up and things of that nature. And then she put an idea of getting a credit card, and she was like, "Oh, they give you money." And it's like, you have to pay that back. This is right in my words. 18 years old, never had a credit card before, but I know on TV they say you got to pay it back. She said, "You don't have to pay it back." Okay. All right. If I don't get this credit card, she's going to kick me out. So I got the credit card. It was a balance of $1,200 on it. She split it up immediately. Like, went crazy bananas on it, buying unnecessary things, and then was trying to pay it back. And she said, "I'll give you $25. So that little check I got of like $200 as an 18-year-old has now been cut up tremendously, because half of it had to go pay the rent. So I now have this $100 that I gotta take 75 of to pay off a bill, and have 25 and find a way to pay my cell phone bill, buy things and things of that nature, And then on top of that, she will also ask for more money. I need more. You can't, you gotta give me more money or I'm gonna kick you out. It's always I'm gonna kick you out if you don't give me what I need. And yeah, boy, those are some terrible years. It was hard years.
Yeah. I mean, talk about your back against the wall. And I mean, it's just a feeling that I have this feeling of, just privilege hearing about that story because, not only were you not supported, you were you had debt to start off with in life.
Yeah.
That you had to pay off. And, so it's something that it's really remarkable that you were able to do that and, to kind of keep this attitude of, despite the fact that my own mother is essentially using me for money and I'm the one who has to pay it back, you're not an angry guy. You still treat your mother with kindness and respect, even though, she did all those things to you. So what's your feeling about your mom now?
Well, at that time, I was obviously mad, but
Sure.
I expected it from her because she did that to other people. So it was not a surprise that she would do that to me. I mean, I have siblings. Even at like 6 years old, they had an electric bill in their name that had to be due, and it affected their credit score before they even turned 18. So it was no surprise. It was just my turn at that point. But I mean, at this point, I like after leaving and moving to the city I'm at now, I have more time to think of why these things happen, what kind of mind frame someone would be in to have do those kind of actions. And I just think the way I found peace is just saying, hey, she has gone through a lot. She must have some underlying issues that hasn't been addressed. She's also a addict of addicted to gambling, the lottery system, and things of that nature. So I think those things put pressure on her. I'm not giving her any slight, but it's just giving me peace because I can be mad forever, but it's like, what is that going to do? I'm not going to get the answer I'm looking for from that. So I might as well just put that answer in my head and just leave it there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a really healthy way to look at it. And the reality is that your mom's not a bad person. It's just that she's got a lot of issues and she had a lot of stress and she didn't have the tools to cope with it well.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you and your siblings had to endure that. But I bet if we looked at your mom's upbringing, that she would have gone through something very similar.
Mm-hmm. I would think so too.
Right. So it's like the cycle of poverty. But then you were able to break it. And really the big key for you was actually moving away, right? That was a point where you decided. So what happened when you decided, like, for me to survive, I have to get out?
Well, I normally would put people first. So any issue or any concern, I would focus on that. And it's emotionally taxing. It's a lot of time on that here, so I couldn't accomplish anything. So when I moved, I'm in an apartment by myself. I have nothing to do, so let me get on working what I got to do. So it gave me that solace I needed to. All right, I'm not answering the phone call. Now you can't visit my house, so now you got to call me. So nope, let me get this finished first, then I'll call you, because I one thing I don't want to be is someone who lies or, in my head, say something like, "Oh yeah, I got this going on," and I don't. If I'm telling you that I was busy doing something, I was busy doing something. So I want to make sure I live in my truth. So, and I also don't want to be on a phone call talking to someone like a sibling or something like that, and I'm exactly where I was, or I sound like I'm exactly where I was in Rochester. I didn't do anything. I gotta show you that I'm different, and I'm gonna do exactly what I've been telling you I want to do, and that way, in my eyes, that may provide a vision of, hey, he came from where I'm at. He's my brother. Let me go ahead and ask him how he did this. Let me do this, because if I can be that example or that beacon light, let me be that. Not for your purpose, but for my purpose. I'm doing it for me now. And if you want to follow me, I'll show you. But if you ain't doing it, that's okay too, because I am at where I'm at now.
How old were you when you moved out?
I was 26. Well, move away from here. It was like 26.
Okay. So how did it feel to be the one that got out?
Well, it felt great. Even at that time before I moved, I wasn't in close contact with my mother. I wasn't really there. But I did have a lot of hate at that time. I had it wasn't positive things to say. But it felt refreshing. Just seeing a new city, being a new scenery, just being around things, flying. I had never flown in my life. So it made me want to like travel more. That's the time in your life. In the 20s, you got to do that. So I am very fortunate that my job closed over here to give me that kick in the butt. So I just enjoy it.
It sounds like first you mentally moved out until you could actually physically move out.
Yes.
You're sort of like preparing yourself for the first opportunity.
Yeah, and the thing was when I got the the notice of moving or relocating, I only had like a week to make a decision. So all those emotions, all those things I had in the bin, they pull it all out. Okay, all right, great. Let me try to make bygones be bygones before I go, and then boom, it was a rush of like, oh man, I feel great. I feel great. Like, hey, I'm leaving here knowing that I didn't leave anything unfinished with any communication or people I think I needed to talk to about things. And then now when people call me, hey, how's everything been? It's been great. Like when I'm on a phone call with people now, it's not like, oh, it's like, hey man, how's everything going? How can I help you? Or how can I, well, not like help you financially, but how can I provide you some information to where you need to get where I'm at? Or if you need someone to talk to and you just want me to just listen, I can do that too.
So what was it like when you moved to South Carolina and then you were on your own? And you had a job, but you had to basically build a life in a completely new city, and you accomplished that. I mean, you're getting married in October.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
So talk us through like how you ended up, building a life for yourself down there.
Well, I just made a plan, you get a vision board or something like that. I just said, okay, within the next 3 to 5 years of moving here, I have to have either a house or making way to a home. So I just manifested that, and but also just seeing that down in South Carolina, the importance, like, hey, up here, I didn't have a car. Down there, you got to have a car. Like, they don't have sidewalks in most places. So it forced me to, like, I got to have this. Apartments down there, the rent increases every year. So most people move into homes. Okay, this is now forcing me that. I think I flourish well. It's like a diamond, it has to be under pressure in order for it to be a diamond from that coal. So I needed that. I need to be constantly in that mind state. Like, I have to get this done, or hey, I'm going to be a detriment or something. An example of a stereotype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us about your work.
So I work for a leading communications company. Telecommunications company, and I just work on tech, just resolve issues, typical inbound support. But I work from home, so it makes it easy. It's like it can suck if you worked in a cubicle, but it doesn't suck as much that you're wearing pajamas and just sitting there listening to some music.
So when X was on the show, the thought of him working for a corporate, having a corporate job was just like out of the question. Has your family ever kind of looked at you like you were a sellout or given you any grief about the life you live, since you're kind of the black sheep?
Absolutely not. No, because they just know that's what you're supposed to do, but it's just not them. Sometimes it's hard for some people to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, or be something that they're not. We all go to somebody and we put on what we think they want us to be, but it's not our true selves. I mean, if we all went to a place and we didn't wear, you wore a suit, but we start talking like a sailor, we all wouldn't have jobs. So some of them don't. Well, some of my family members don't have that professional talking ability and things of that nature. So, but nah, that don't look bad at me on that, because they would like to be there if it was easier for them.
And it seems like you also don't look down on them. You take a different approach, but everything that you're saying has always been respectful towards how they're living their lives.
Now it is. Yeah. It wasn't before. I mean, I tried to put my ideals into them, but I just realized that in order for me to stay sane and just focus on what I need to focus on, I just don't pass judgment as much anymore. I think, again, it's for me more. And I think that's what I've been doing since I moved. Just how is this beneficial to me first, and then them, versus them first, then me back then.
So what would your advice be for people growing up in similar situations? I mean, is it kind of like you got to be a square, you got to be kind of a nerd? Not that, I would describe you as that, but it's something that you kind of self-described when you looked up to Steve Urkel, for example, right? So it's something that, what would you tell 12-year-old version of yourself or a sibling?
I would just say to my younger self, again, you're not a victim. You are a victim of your circumstances, but it doesn't have to control you to a point where you're an adult now. The world is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. If it's hard at home, it's going to be hard outside, right? So you just got to learn how to control yourself, have a goal, strive for that goal, and don't let anything in life deter you from that goal, even if it's going to take you longer to accomplish that goal. Just being persistent and just being your true, authentic self, I would say, is the best way to live life.
You had told us previously that you felt like because you never had a victim mindset, and you easily could have, especially, what you went through with the amount of, stealing and things like that, not having that mindset really is what made you successful.
Right. Like, what is that going to do? Being a victim and just saying, oh, woe is me, what does that do for anyone? Can you make money doing that? I mean, you could, but is it honest money? Do you feel good selling yourself like that, or making people feel pity for you? Feeling sorry for yourself, showing pity is weak, right? It's an example of being weak. Who is proud of saying they're a weak person? If you are, by all means, continue doing that. But if you don't, then don't do that. Be you. Be who you want. If you think you're a strong person, be a strong person. And if you don't think you're a strong person, find an example out there. Again, find someone that you can say, I believe that person's a strong person, and try to vision your life off that. And that's the way you have to live. As a man, as a woman, as an alien, you got to do something to continue going on, because life is constant. Your feelings, your emotions, your ideals are always going to change, right? Every day is different. So you got to have something that's same. Something the same, but it's beneficial to you. That's the only way you're going to live or survive in life.
So what was it like when you signed the paperwork for your house, which is very beautiful, by the way?
Thank you. I felt extremely tired. It was a lot of paperwork. But it was a lot. But I felt happy because I know that, that's the end goal, right? That's the end goal. People go to school for a house. People go to work for a house. And I got that. It's my first house, but I got my first house a lot sooner than I thought it would. And I felt very proud. It was awesome. I don't even know what else to say, man. It's been awesome. I'm glad I can say, get out my house to somebody. Can't say, get out my apartment,
Well, Dominic, you truly earned it. And it's something that, because you took that path of, I'm going to continue to do the healthy thing, and you have this work ethic, and it's got you this place. And the irony is that I was your mentor, but you bought a house prior than I did. As far as age wise, I didn't get my first house until I was 34.
I remember that day. You were so happy, man.
Yeah, but it was a small house, and I had every advantage to get to that place. And so that just again shows your fortitude as far as saying you had every disadvantage, and not that it's competition, but that as a young man, you and your fiance were able to purchase that house.
Yeah, it gave me the notion of knowing, like, hey, if I got this, right? I mean, it's we, as Americans, as anybody, we all should have a place to stay, right? And we know houses is the most expensive thing that a person can buy. So if I got this, right, I can go ahead and purchase anything, or I can accomplish anything now, because like, hey, I may not. Let's say tomorrow I lose my job and I start working at McDonald's. I still got a house at McDonald's I pay a mortgage to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take, as long as I'm paying that, I still got that, right? No matter what you're going to be economic wise, as long as you got a place to stay, you got a house, right? You got equity. You can sell the house. You can get money out of that. So it's like, that's the American dream, right? So I'm living the American dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, and hopefully you're an inspiration to youngsters who are in the same situation that you were. And, I think, your life story is just such a great example. And it's very motivating and inspiring.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you coming on today. I'd like to ask our viewers to drop a comment below. Tell us if you think Dominic has broken any stereotypes. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth interviews that break stereotypes.
Thanks, Dominic.
Thank you.